Good day everyone, welcome back to Character Formation DSW class, and first of all, I would just like to apologize with a great heart that I'm so sorry that I cannot be present with you guys because of certain circumstances once more. But nonetheless, today we're going to discuss this whole idea of what kind of leaders do we have in Malaysia, what kind of leaders do we want to be. Right, so you've learned about the golden circle and what leadership is before, but today we're gonna really get into the nitty-gritty of things. And this is very important for you if you guys are people who want to make an impact. You guys have to be decision makers and have the wisdom to know how to make about the right policies and the right choices, right? So let's carry on here, okay? Let me just see. So perhaps one thing that you can discuss is just share one thing that you remembered that you learned last week. So take this moment. I'm just gonna give you guys 1 minute time. Okay, discuss one thing that you have learned last week. Okay. With that, you will learn about this whole idea of critical thinking, different fallacies, barriers to critical thinking. And one thing that will come to your mind is that how, as leaders, you need to be aware to identify the wrong thinking that goes around, right? For you leaders to make an impact, you need to know the narratives that's been said. And sometimes certain narratives can be detrimental, some narratives can be helpful, right? For example, like the kind of statement like, oh, China balik China, right? Well, inherently, there is no such of an error, like our ancestries definitely can go back to China as a Chinese, for example, right? But what goes through the mind is the tone behind it, that's the idea of rejection there. See that? So that's a narrative that we have to identify, and if you're doing critical thinking, you should be able to find a way to say, hey, let's change the narratives. And today you guys are going to do things that, well, I'll say the power to change narratives. Right? So let's move on. So today we're going to talk about seeing with a different set of eyes. Right? What do you know? Right? So for starters, perhaps let's come up with this idea that we are same and different at the same time, right? Ginny, Laihang, Jonathan, Edward, Ayn, all of you there, right? Just look at one another and say, we are same and different at the same time. I'm gonna wait. Now, what do I mean by that? With that, let me just experiment something, okay? Everyone close your eyes. I'm going to wait until you close your eyes. No. Shamila, close your eyes. Okay, Laihang, thank you for waiting for everyone to close their eyes. Now, okay, everyone close your eyes. I'm going to play this song for you, and I want you to tell me what goes through your mind. Okay, now everyone open your eyes. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute or two. Each and every one of you share what went through your mind. And then when the time comes, you play back the video. I'm going to guess that some of you might think about an opera. Some of you might think about being in a theater. Some of you, do you think about Tom and Jerry? So these are some of the answers that I get. I think about being happy, I think about sad. And catch this. I gave you the same material, but each and every one of you reacted differently. Okay, next example. Okay, everyone close your eyes. Now imagine with me, okay, let's just say Nick and Ayn are the bestest of best friends, right? And one day they're sitting at the bench, and then Ayn has a nana behind her back that she cannot reach, and she asks Nick, can you help me press? And Nick, being the best friend, said, of course. Now he, being so excited, pressed the nana a bit too fast and too hard that it exploded so fast that the pus shot into his mouth, and out of shock, he swallowed it. Now, everyone, I want you to think of a word or an expression. Okay, think of it. Now when I say 3, 2, 1, all of you are going to shout it out at the same time. Ready or not? 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna guess. Either you all shout, ew, or ugh, or disgusting. Now, keep in mind, what do you realize? It was the same context, but all of you gave the same response or similar response. And one thing for you before we enter deep dive into leadership, the nitty-gritty of decision making, right, is for the first narrative that you need to recognize is that in a community, whatever community you're at, the corporate community, the social work community, your family, your friends, there is certain narratives in a way where we can identify that we are same and different at the same time. There is this universal idea that we all understand what disgust is, responsibility, love and care. But then there are different aspects where we have different values. All of us will respond just like how we responded to the song. Dung, 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 dung. All of us hear the same thing but respond differently. And that's the space that you guys have to enter in your context. And you do not need to be in positions of power to enter. Alright? So now comes scenario time. I'm going to give you a general context here. Okay? Right? Let's just say you have a beautiful wife, a handsome husband, okay, a 6-year-old daughter, a 4-month-old baby boy, a dog, a cat, and a young cow full of milk. Itu lembu, ada banyak susu. Now, flow with me here. Let's just say there's an economic downfall, worst ever. You guys are financially tight, and you have to cut down the costs. Now, you have to be serious with this, okay? Who or what will you cut down? Okay, so take this time to pause this again. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to discuss, right? And then, come back together and, we shall talk it out. Now, welcome back. I'm going to guess, most of you, just guess, you will either sell the cow for money after milking is worth. You have to get rid of the dog and the cat, right? Interesting, right? What made you make this decision? Right? Why not get rid of... Why? Because the dog, right? The dog is pretty... Let's just say, example, the dog is pretty obedient. Can bring in the newspapers every day. Can bring in... Can protect the house. But you chose the dog over the 4-month-old baby boy who cries every night, who poops every night. Even the dog is potty trained. Your baby has to wear pampers. Costs a lot of money for pampers. So, making your decision had nothing to do with obedience. What about your wife? Your wife wants to go shopping every day lah, wants to buy her gifts lah, have to feed the children lah, more than the children and whatever lah. But yet you didn't choose your wife. I'm making a guess here. If you did, then there's a whole different discussion lah. Your wife costs more than the cat, dog, cow combined. And yet the decision you make was then not a financial decision. So what made you think about this? What are the decisions that you make? And I'm going to give you this concept and idea that in general, innately, humans recognize value and have a higher value towards other humans than everything else in the world. I am not saying that because humans have a higher value, you're supposed to treat the rest as a lower value. In fact, if you have a higher value, then you should have the knowledge that you guys have the responsibility to guard the whole earth, to care for the whole earth. Yet we know the stories, as you see now in the news, that the true animals are not the animals, that we are the animals, sadly. But just to put things to perspective, you guys are humans. You are transcendent in that sense. And you guys innately know that you have value and worth by the sheer fact that you exist. That you know that a Down syndrome kid has more value than a racing horse that's able to bring in millions of money every week during the race. And that's what makes you human. You recognize things more than what the earthly values give you. Okay? Ooh. Now let me shift this for you to see. Yeah. Now, to give you context, right? Animals and humans have multiple differences, right? I used to have a former pet, Shadow. Okay, he's a Dachshund. Now, we share lots of similarities, but our differences are vast. He is particular of where he sleeps. I'm particular where I sleep. He's particular of what he eats. I'm particular of what I eat sometimes. But Shadow is not like a human. Shadow doesn't stay up late at night praying for the salvation of his friends. You don't go to the dog. No. Shadow doesn't go fasting, right? Unless I forget to feed him. Okay? He's a dog. Shadow does not regret peeing on your mother's carpet because he's a dog. He's just trying to mark his territory. And before you tell me, Mr. Adriel, there's this show, this YouTube video that shows the dog showing guilt. That's not guilt. That is the dog recognizing who the alpha male is. You chase the dog out for peeing the carpet, right? It's sad. The moment you bring the dog in, it's constantly wagging its tail again, happy to see its master. The dog doesn't have this thing of regret, like thinking, why on earth did I pee on my master's carpet? But if you were to pee on your mother's carpet, for example, and I kick you out, you must be thinking, why did I do that? That was so stupid. Right? So there are differences there. That even in the human world and the animal world, there are many differences. If you see a lion kill another lion, the National Geographer guy say, oh look, the lion had it coming. He entered the lion's pride. But if I were to take a gun and start shooting you one by one, pew, 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 it's a whole different ethical issue altogether. And there is value in human life. So with this, we're going to enter into the next main discussion. Aha! Okay? This one, I'm going to give you 15 minutes or more for you to talk about it. Okay? And after you discuss, have a 10-minute break. Okay? Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a 1-minute reflection or do whatever your discussion on your own to identify who Kyrie is and what makes him a good leader and why he does what he does. Okay? Remember, no leader is perfect. But I want you to take 1 minute, look through what you can know and discuss. Then the next 15 minutes, each and every one of you have to share why he is good and why he's bad. I'm going to watch the recording so I know whether you guys discuss or not. Okay? Right? 15 minutes, ding ding dong dong. Then after that, I'm going to give you guys your 10-minute break. Okay? Pause the video. Now, here's my thoughts. Okay, Kyrie, right? For me, every human is not perfect, so there is an agenda there. And for me, I find Kyrie tries his best to find the middle ground. And he has proven himself worthy, right? From a minister to the Minister of Youth to now the Minister of Health, and he has no health background. But what he shows is his competency in getting the right people and humility to learn from his mistakes. But yes, a guy like him has done a lot of things to climb up that ladder through the certain social currency, the people that he knows. And come on, I'm sure he knows that there are a lot of corrupt people inside. But one thing for me, that I can identify is at least he is someone that wants to make Malaysia a better place. Right? I'm sure he has his own agenda. I'm sure because of his agenda, things might be slower. I have never met someone who's fully self-giving. Right? But for me, this is what makes him a good leader. He is earnest enough to communicate what is clear. And my key characteristic of a good leader is he is honest with his mistakes, ready to apologize. And my gauge on when to show grace is if you know your mistakes and you're willing to try again. I, at the very least, as a follower, should give you the chance to try again. To which some of you might say, oh, this government has had years and years to try, right? But there's something for you to think about, that, you know, the moment you become a leader, it's a very tough position to be in, because all eyes are on you. You will face criticism. So each and every one of you right now that I'm talking to you, you will face criticism. There are people that will not like you just because you got face problem. The difference is, if you remember the golden circle, whether in all that you do, you are clear of your why. Criticisms will come, but if you're clear on your why, you will not be perfect. Catch this, you will not, write this down, you will not be perfect, but you will be blameless in terms of your values and your ethics. Blameless here means, right, like, I'll go like, I can gauge what kind of person, for example, Jonathan is, right? He's blameless. He's clear why he does what he does. He's not perfect. There are times he burns out. There are times he cannot say no, for example. But when I see what he does, I know why he does it, and I cannot put a blame on him. I can criticize his competency maybe, but I cannot blame his character. See that? And when I call him out, let's just say Jonathan is someone that has a temper, okay? And I want to call him out. Before I can call him out, he says, guys, look, I have a very bad temper and I'm trying to work on it. And I'm going like, oh, he already knows. He knows where his flaw is, see, for example. And that is what this class, as you get into the class, I want you guys to learn. You can never be perfect, but you can learn to be blameless in your character. To which we come to the next discussion. Now is your turn. I want each of you to take, I'll give you guys 5 minutes, okay, just 5 minutes to discuss. What is abortion to you? And as a leader in Malaysia, maybe 10 minutes, what would you do? Okay, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay? So, be quick, be ready to listen to one another. You have to be as honest as possible. This is a safe space. To you, just say, okay, to me, abortion is this. And if I'm a leader in position of leadership, this is the policy that I will do, why, and how. Okay? 5 minutes, pause, go. Now, welcome back. I hope you guys have gotten insights. And now I'm going to show you, open up your minds a bit if I may, right? Most of you, okay, usually will either, when you come to the abortion argument, it has something to do with either you're pro-life or you're pro-choice. Pro-life or pro-choice, okay? And when you're pro-choice, it's always about the rights of the mother, or some might still argue that the fetus is just a mass of tissue, right? And when you're pro-life, you believe that the fetus is a human life, right? And you're pushed either way. Now, let me start off my thesis with, if anyone pushes you to either or, that's a false dilemma. Remember critical thinking last week? That's a trap. It is not the case. Okay? Right? It is always more complicated than just pro-life or pro-choice. Yes, innately some might be more pro-life and pro-choice, but the argument is always bigger than that. And when someone questions you, abortion or not, pro-life or pro-choice, say it is not as simple as that, then there is a middle ground. Let me unpack some of these realities for you. Okay, where's my mouse? Okay, wait on. Now, the Pro V. Wade bill that was passed in the 1950s, right? In America, the bill was passed in a way where that you can abort as long as it wasn't the first trimester. Okay? But when the sonogram was created, they discovered, right, and in the first 8 weeks, and it's not even the first trimester, that the fetus or the baby has all organs functioning. The heart is pumping blood. The kidney is doing the fluids. There is a fingerprint, evidence of pain, dreaming, and you can see the baby smile. But what you realize is that at that time, even now, 2013, about almost all of the million abortions that happened, half of them were after the first trimester. Sorry, not half of them. All of 1 million abortions were after the first trimester. Now let me give you some statistics. 25% in Malaysia, they had since 2008. Motorcycle. Let's wait. About 1,075 baby dumping cases happened. There's no abortion statistics in Malaysia, by the way, because abortion is illegal in Malaysia. And so you get worse, baby dumping. My wife works for Teach for Malaysia in the PPR flats. Happens often. Young girls, you know. And it's very crazy. Right? 20 million abortions in 2018. Alright, about 125,000 abortions a day. Okay, you can check the links, right? Now in 2016, they did a survey, right? Okay. Reasons for abortions, if it's rape, it was only 0.3%. If it's incest, family members, 0.03. If it affected the baby's health, 0.1. If it affected the health of the mother, 0.1. Barely even reaches 1.5%. Okay, but the rest of the statistics is economic reasons. Oh, I had enough. I cannot afford So I'm gonna abort the baby, although I had sex. I don't want to adjust to life, 16%. I don't feel ready, 32%. I come in poor relationships, 12 to 13%. I already have enough children, 4.8. And there's a lot of other statistics that does not reflect. I was forced to abort because my husband or boyfriend is abusive, right? And there's all this thing going on. And I'm just saying, statistics-wise, it shows that abortion happens because I want to avoid the consequence of life. Catch this. Now, and that's why I want to say this. Abortion in itself is not the main argument. Abortion is a symptom of a deeper social issue of lack of respect in humanity, lack of care for one another, right? If there is truly a safe space, and I can be both pro-life and pro-choice, mind you, where I care for the mother and care for the baby. In fact, in Malaysia, this is what Orphan Care does. Created by a Muslim group of people, right? And it's tough. They don't get much funding. Because why? Malaysia sees babies out of wedlock and abortion as illegal and all that. But what they're saying is, please don't abort the baby. Don't throw the baby. Put it in this hatch and we will receive it. And 6 months later, if you're a Muslim and you want to collect it, we'll give it back to you. 3 weeks later, if you're non-Muslim, we'll give it back to you. Or not, we'll bring it to the orphanage. It takes a lot of money, processing papers. But this is a life we are talking about. Right? So something for you to think about. Now, as I present this for you, as a leader, would you have changed your actions? What would you have done? Right? I am proposing that you find the middle ground. It's never either or. It is, give me the context. Is the husband abusive? Who is the parents? How much money they're earning? And do we have the resources to provide both for the mother and the child? Yeah? So, as we come towards this, right, maybe you can post your questions in the Teams group, whether you have any questions that you'd like to discuss with one another and all that. But let me come to a close with this. Leaders are very important, not for its position, but for its values and what you can do for society. That is why a leader serves one another and the leader serves the ground. A leader is not being served. If a leader is being served and a leader demands that power and authority, automatically that stops and ceases becoming a leader, because you don't have the ground's interest at heart. But you guys that I'm teaching you now, you guys have every other people's interest at heart. And when you serve in that context, you are already a leader. And know that we are all same and different at the same time. Identify what is the narrative that is within your context. What are the things that are saying that are helpful? What are the stories that are not helpful in your context, in your workplace? Identify the toxicity, and then as a leader, what will you do different that will fix that? Like for one example, if I'm going to complain, MCKL is a bad place, the lead management, like that, for example, I may have been bringing out the truth, but I am not doing anyone any good. And let me just say, I fail in that. As a human, I still fail. But just something for you to think about, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, class. It's been a journey. It's a pleasure. Ta-ta.